All right, welcome to the Ramble On for Ad Astra.
Yep. There will be spoilers. Fair warning. We are going to get deep into spoilers for this movie. And let me start by saying I fucking hated this movie.
Yeah, I would recommend you probably just listen to this or watch the trailer, and you basically have it all.
Yeah. If you watch the trailer, you've got the trimmed down movie that we wanted.
Right. Yeah, so as we kind of said in the recut, this movie basically no deep plot.
No.
Sort of a forceful sort of journey for this character that felt like it would never end if you were watching it from the audience.
The thing that killed me about the main character, if you want to just dig right into him first, he had no need of his own. Like, he never pushed himself to go in. He was constantly told where to go or what to do by everyone around him. The only reason other people existed was to tell him what to do.
Yeah, it was very forced, and I think a lot of the plot and just essentially most of the movie felt very forced. We didn't have really any real reason for why this. I mean, you sort of can make an assumption like, oh, his dad like went on this journey and didn't come back, and now he's like hurt and has these emotions that he's been hiding, pushing down.
Except for the first half of the movie, he portrays himself as a psychopath who never goes above 80 BPM and who is always in control and is constantly somehow life.
Yeah, it was just like this conflict of it had really a conflict of ideas like throughout, like
the whole time.
It was very very conflicted movie with what it was sort of. It was like almost like it was trying to do something a little differently, but then never really did.
And just kept it boilerplate safe in the end. No, like Nick said, this was an odyssey where a character was compelled to do something by other characters, which, let's get into them.
Well, I think the only way it's like Homer's Odyssey is that it's a rambling-ass story that goes to different places. That's the only way it's like Homer's Odyssey.
It was a ramble within itself, over 2 hour long ramble.
I would say, if you're looking for a soundbite summary of this movie, this is like somebody watched the Sandra Bullock one that came out a while back and kind of said, I want that! And then didn't really understand what they were doing with that movie.
No, it did feel like sort of a stale copy or sort of ish of all the other, again, the ad nauseum thing. It's like a movie that you've sort of seen, but like not like it's just like they missed like what was actually happening in the plot for the other movies.
I think
it's like they watched the other movies on mute or something. Like half the movie was.
I think the best summary for me of why I didn't like this movie is one of the side parts of the movie is why he's on a ride to Mars in order to get through the plot. They stop for a distress beacon. And they go on the ship, they look around, and it turns out it's space monkeys.
Space monkeys!
And the space monkeys eat a guy's face, and instead of this being like the obvious, like, kind of funny death that it should be, or like the very obvious, like, point out, like, space monkeys! It's treated completely seriously. He's given a somber burial at space after he duct tapes his helmet shut.
Yeah.
It's just one fucking thing, and this movie doesn't realize it's silly.
Yeah, and that's actually, we kind of skipped over, but like, let's talk about when the movie starts, and they have that text, like, near future. And it starts off like you've been saying, Nick, where it's pretentious. It just tries to lay into it's asinine. It's crazy.
I think that's, for me, the first like sign of like, oh no, what are they doing with this movie was actually the very opening, because it opens with like this very really boring, I think.
Yes.
It wasn't even a quotation. It was just like a summary of the movie, kind of.
Right.
And then it shows a solid 2 minutes of uninterrupted staring right into the sun.
Yes. Yeah, and it really just starts off we're talking about, some of the story and the plot and the dialogue, which this like just forced
so forced.
Yeah, where there's a lot of things like why even like there's just a lot of questions early on, like what, like they're talking about, okay, you have to go do this mission, it's top secret, so you're gonna have to be commercial. Like I don't understand what is happening. Like they do try. We talked about a little bit off before we started recording about the world building, and it's sort of like they did try to build some world, but
there is an amazing amount of world building.
It doesn't understand what, but they don't connect it. Like you can't go you have to go commercial because what does the government not, or does the space comm not do regular trips with their astronauts to the moon? Like, I don't understand.
I think the easiest way for us to organize this is just go from the beginning to the end of the movie a little bit, but just with our major things we remember.
Yeah.
So the first thing I was thinking was, well, first off, there's the 2 minutes of staring at the sun, and then there's we get the near future for the time, something like, okay, this must be like, what, 2025, 2030, something like that.
Yes.
And at that point, like, it makes sense, because it's like, okay, this is a really tall building that we have that goes into low orbit.
Mm-hmm.
We have this opening where, like, he kind of gets, like, crashed to Earth a little bit. It's like, okay, so this is pretty near future. This isn't that far. And then when we get into the meeting, he talks about, all right, you're going to have to take a commercial rocket to the moon in order to take a secret rocket to our underground Mars base so you can take a flight out to Neptune. I'm thinking, what the fuck? Where does this movie take place?
And exactly. And these are things that you could probably forgive if it actually had put the plot, actually figured out how to put that together properly. Because it is these things where it's like, it's the near future. They're still using like what looks like an iPad, which is fine, whatever.
There's ways you open these movies.
But somehow we built a giant thing on the moon. We have commercial travel from the moon, and yet we're still riding around like little dune buggies.
Yeah,
like, I don't.
It's weird because like there's a pattern in these sci-fi movies, and this is sci-fi. This is something like 2050, 2060 when it's supposed to take place, I believe.
Yeah.
But there's ways you open these movies with this, which is you have a panoramic shot of a major city, and you can see, okay, this is clearly futuristic. We can see that there's like flying cars or rocket trips or something. We get those shots. We never get that shot. We get a shot of someone staring into the sun for 2 minutes, and then we get just Brad Pitt in his bed looking sad while his wife vanishes from his side.
Oh, yeah, right, the whole divorce thing.
Yeah, and then his wife, who has no dialogue in this movie, by the way, great representation.
We are introduced to a plethora of characters, like...
she's also the most consistent supporting character.
Yeah. Well, take Donald Sutherland, who played Colonel Pruitt. He was supposed to be like his, Jiminy Cricket on this whole expedition, but he gets a goddamn heart attack after a raid of moon bandits. I shit you not.
So with the continuing the trend then, so he takes his rocket to the moon. But we have his supporting guy, the second astronaut, supposed to be like his security blanket. He's supposed to go with him the whole time, and the guy, as soon as he gets to the moon, he says, "Oh man, I'm not going to make it. My health's failing. I got to give you this secret flash drive of contaminated information. Now tell me more about your father." And then they get into moon buggies, and the guy at the moon buggy place says like, "So you been on the moon before?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, I've been on the moon. I did 2 tours in the polar circles, and then I also did all the war games with the Army and the Navy." And the guy's like, "Oh, you've seen your fair share of combat." Like, this is part of Brad Pitt being like Mr. Captain America, super soldier.
Totally.
And then they get into these dune buggies, which are the same kind of dune buggies as in the Apollo landing in 1970.
Yep.
And then
Scotty Puff Jr.
and then while they're driving along, fucking space bandits pull up next to them in other dune buggies, and we get a shootout on the moon while he's driving to the secret dark place. Which, by the way, they ignored that the dark side of the moon is freezing cold. It would probably kill you.
Yeah. This disregards so much science, by the way, and we'll get into that as we go along.
I think the best summary I have for this movie that I can think of right now is this is a very pretentious pet project that's wrapped in a cocoon of dumb action movie.
Yeah, very much
nice.
so.
Yeah, that's I agree. Yeah.
But so let's get, like you said, continue with the trend. So after the whole space bandit debacle, then we get into the commercial flight that had that.
This is the commercial flight. This is the secret flight.
Secret flight to Mars.
Oh,
which is with a crew of people who are just going to Mars routinely for some reason.
Yeah. And that's when the space monkey, space baboon.
They get the alert, like a Mayday alert, and Brad Pitt's like, "Hey, fuck you, this is a classified mission, you can't stop." And the guy's like, "Fuck you, this is my ship." And then they stop for the thing. They go around the ship, and it's like, real tense, real nervous. Ooh, what's happening on this ship? Because we know, like, from like a throwaway line that like this is an animal testing rig. They test on animals. Right. We get this real spooky. Ooh, what do we do on this ship? What's the twist going to be? And then it's space monkeys with rabies.
Not even monkeys, just one.
There's 2 monkeys.
Oh, was there 2?
Yeah, because Brad Pitt shoots one after he eats the face of his captain buddy.
Oh, I thought it was the same one. Like, wow, that's one durable monkey.
The best part is he gets him out of the room, locks the monkeys in there, duct tapes the helmet shut like that's going to save him from having his face eaten off. And then he pressurizes the compartment with the monkey, so we get to see like this monkey face just explode all over the camera, which is hilarious.
Yeah, it was like in that ridiculous parts, and no mention of the rest of the crew, by the way. Then he goes back to the ship. They get to Mars. They show that the now new captain of the ship is incapable of doing his job.
So of course, Mr. Captain Brad Pitt America has to step in and once again be amazing at his job and land it.
And then he goes, and then he's such a badass. Like, I'm not going to add this to your official record.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
Then of course it's Mars. It's underground shithole.
Yeah, it's an underground shithole. So the only shots we get are narrow shots, which are either like storage space or like clearly a parking garage.
This is where they were like, we cannot afford. This is their budget cutting, I guess.
This is where they got pretentious as fuck, because this is also the place where he has the room that's like full of like bird images being displayed on the walls constantly.
Oh, the calming room, yeah.
The calming room. And then this is where you start to get the feeling that like, okay, they really like want us to think about what does this mean, because the place he records this message that's supposed to go to Dad, because the plan is at this point is go to Mars, beam a message to Neptune, and tell your dad, hey, knock this shit off.
Yeah,
and that's gonna work. He goes into a room that's like, it's like the classic ultra soundproof design. You know,
they just happen to have this on their Mars base.
Yeah,
the recording studio on Mars, because that's where you get the best sound.
But yeah, it's got the design of like the old ultra soundproof rooms. If you've seen those before, the quote unquote no noise rooms where you can hear like your own organs moving and blood flowing and stuff. There's clearly designed around that. And he beams up 2 messages, and then he's told, "You're too emotional. We can't have you on this flight."
Yeah, they keep.
We brought you all the way out here, but you're doing exactly what we told you to. But now we can't have you.
And then, at that point, we have a new character who has
insert
2 lines. 2 lines, and she had about 2 lines. She steps in and says, "I have secret information on your father that he murdered his crew and
guilt trip, call to action." Boom!
Your dad killed my parents. and then she explains, okay, look, we're going to have a secret mission. We have nuclear wares on our ship. We're going to blow him the hell up. But we want to bring you along so you can maybe do some justice. I'll tell you exactly where you can go to sneak on the ship. So,
and I'd like to point out at this point, the dune buggies on Mars are the Scooty Puff seniors that have like an actual what you'd expect to be on the moon, where it's like they can actually take off their helmets. It's a full like freaking Mercedes-Benz van of the moon Mars travel, but we couldn't have that on the moon.
No, of course not.
What? Okay, sure. Anyway.
So we have about I want to say 15-20 minutes of Brad Pitt just kind of quietly going through underground tunnels and through an underground lake on Mars. Oh, by the way, there's water on Mars apparently.
I know, there's water on Mars. He's swimming. He's like, he's going
through the
sewer system.
And remember, every time there's a quiet moment in this movie, we get the voiceover that's happening. So we're hearing Brad Pitt just constantly wax kind of 14-year-old philosophical the whole time.
It's like the Fight Club type thing. They're just trying to keep that going. Like, yes, the voiceovers. Like,
but and then when he gets onto the ship. Now, of course, you would expect, of course, they're going to keep him secret because she obviously cleared this with her crew and she told him exactly how to get onto their ship and it's going to be adventurous. She freaks the fuck out, is like, yo, what the fuck? You got on my ship. I can't believe you did this. Gets out a gun. She gets killed immediately. The other 2 crew members die by asphyxiation because they shot a gun in an enclosed space.
Which hit the oxygen tank.
And that's the first hour of the movie done. We still have another hour to go after this.
Oh, totally.
Brad just
at this point we've given up pretty much all hope that this movie actually would come back around and be a decent story.
So at this point, Brad, who has been kind of disowned by the military, decommissioned from his work, and has killed like 6 people.
Roughly.
He goes on a solo rocket mission.
It's a 79-day journey.
Over 79 days, with enough fuel to get back apparently, but that's later.
Somehow.
He goes on this mission. We get about another 25 minutes or so of just him on this journey, monologuing to himself again.
Watching videos of his wife on his iPad. Watching videos of his dad.
And then a lot of very pretentious shots of like repeated shots over and over.
Yes.
It's very pretentious.
Space!
He goes to Neptune. gets on the ship, plants the nuke, talks to Daddy Dearest, and then Dad just kind of tells him, "I never loved you or your mom, and I want to stay here."
I want to know.
But then,
and now this is when Brad Pitt decides, "No, we don't win wars by destroying what we hate. We save what we love." And then he tries to take his dad home.
yeah, him and his dad have a real bonding moment.
His dad.
You think they would have spent like a couple of weeks together?
Well, apparently they spent some time together because there's flashbacks
Months,
of his dad.
yeah.
And, his dad, the moment they get out of the spaceport, immediately tries to murder Brad Pitt, tells him to cut him loose, and then just goes and blasts off into space to die quietly.
Yes.
And then Brad decides at that moment, I want to live. And then he gets onto like a spinning part on the ship, peels off some of the plating on it, jumps through the ring of Neptune to get back to his ship. Which, of course, he managed to nail in because he's the world's greatest astronaut, soldier man of all time.
Right. Got it, no problem.
Uses the nuclear explosion from the other ship to pilot his way back to Earth in record time.
That was the best part. That was what a movie.
No,
what a movie.
The best part was definitely the face-eating monkeys.
That's true. Second best part.
No, it was so stupid. He'd I'm gonna live and riot shields through all kinds of comets.
Which. Very realistic space picture.
And let's talk about, I will say, if we go back a little bit, they had a brief. I do still think, one almost like an inkling of a good idea of maybe they had again built a script that actually was written well around it. It was the whole his dad's there's nothing out there. There's nothing out there. We looked. There's nothing out there. It's just us.
No.
That could be.
You see, when you look at space and see the empty planets, you see emptiness, but you're missing the bigger picture. That means all we have is each other. Which is real dialogue from the voiceover.
It's true, yeah.
But he gets next to his ship, uses a nuclear explosion to launch himself towards Earth. Apparently it takes him
half that time.
A month to get back, which, wow, considering the going to Mars and other movies took about 3 months. But whatever. I guess they have super fast rockets.
Yeah.
He lands on Earth, no problem. It's ultra smooth landing, buttery smooth, despite entering at
And then boom, he gets a handout, pulling him out.
No jail time for the people.
Everyone pats him on his back. He doesn't get any jail time. He doesn't even get decommissioned.
Right back to where he started, but different. Perfect fucking story circle, fucking hero's journey.
You gotta end where you began.
He was right back getting lifted up when he fell in the beginning of the fucking movie.
So,
boom, brilliant.
Now that you know.
Post it, send it. Academy Award, no doubt.
Now you know what we've seen.
Brad finally gets his space movie.
Brad finally did it.
Brad's in space. Hashtag.
Fuck you, Sandra Bullock.
George Clooney.
Fuck you, George Clooney.
I can make it better.
Matt Damon. Fucking Brad Pitt. I'm in space. Did you see me? I literally was in 99% of the movie. 119 of the 120 minutes. I was in space. Well, not even in space, but I was there.
What is a supporting cast? I don't care. So everybody he meets in this movie dies.
Yeah.
Except for his wife, who she comes back at the end.
That's true. They couldn't end the movie with him getting his hand reached out, which they probably should have there. They ended it with his wife and this weird sort of 5-minute wrap up that was totally unnecessary.
Because he's learned his humanity after being a psychopath for his life.
Totally unnecessary.
He genocide his daddy issues through space.
That's the movie. 90% of it doesn't matter. The main part that does could have been 12 minutes long.
Oh yeah, like we said, it could have been a Discovery movie with Brad Pitt, but no.
Yeah, I think we basically covered story effects, characters. What was the other thing? Themes.
Tom made a good point. There's some decent world building, there's some good concepts in it, and they just kind of skewed the plot.
There's some very teenage navel gazing where it's asking questions like, what if the sky was pink instead of blue? These kinds of questions where these are kind of questions
what if we finally get to the moon and we just do what we did down here?
That is also a line.
yeah.
Which, by the way, that's one scene I had hope for because the moon is wonderful. Because they get to the moon, the trip there is an airline flight.
Let's talk about that.
He's offered a pillow and blanket for $120. He gets a hot towel. He gets a hot towelette, and they say we appreciate you choosing to fly with us on like a rocket ship to the moon. They get there, it's like an airport.
Right.
This stuff is all kind of wonderful. Like this is the stuff I like in sci-fi dystopia. It's like, oh god, it's more of the same but slightly kitschy.
Right. Well, which they also align in the movie, like, oh, we've done the same thing here. Look at these vendors and the escalators and the kids getting pop.
That's a problem with the voiceover is the voiceover makes it way too obvious what they're going for and beats over the head every time. It's a lot of the Blade Runner voiceover, which I think I mentioned before.
Yeah,
it's very obvious. Something was like added in post when the producers were freaking out, like, "Oh my god, you have 40 minutes of uninterrupted silence. We can't have this in our movie. You need to have some dialogue."
Yeah,
I'll take the silence next time.
I feel like the first thing about this movie is that there was decent world building. There was an idea behind this movie. Yeah. There was something there under all the bullshit. But there was no script. There was no plot.
Yes.
There were no obstacles for the hero because he never has any obstacles. He just constantly solves them by being super badass man. Doesn't even have his pulse rate above 80 BPM. So that's the entire movie, and that's the gist of it. It's someone's pet project, I think.
Yeah.
Do we want to go to any special mentions before we get into the rest of it, aside from eating monkeys in space?
No, really. I mean, I let's face it. When we got to the when we got to the damn baboons, we were pretty much knowing we knew what we were getting into. We knew what this movie was going to become from there.
I think
Tom, do you want to get into final thoughts on the movie?
Yeah, final thoughts are similar to my recut thoughts. Visually, some great scenes. I would say I would never want to see this movie probably again, ever. But at least we did see it. If we had to see it, it was super close up because we got there a little late. We're in the second row. In the theater, you've seen these, again, cool space shots. Like, yeah, that's nice. It looks cool. But other than that, vapid, empty,
like space.
Not well done. Lazily, like space.
It's a metaphor. What does it mean?
I don't know thoughts.
Brennan?
The alternative was Rambo. And I'm still kind of weighing my options now as I'm thinking back on it. This was a long movie. There were some very dazzling scenes and effects, beautiful landscapes, but plot-wise, no, that was just a waste of time.
This movie's heartbreaking. It was clearly someone's pet project. They really cared about this world. They cared about how it worked, the rules, and then they didn't have any idea what to do in it, so they just really threw whatever ideas they had at the wall. And whatever stuck. Which resulted in a movie that is about 90 minutes too long for a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
And that is the thing. I mean, again, it's one of those things like what really happened when this was being written, when it was being put together, when it was being filmed. Like, it seemed like there was something there, maybe, and it's heartbreaking in a way because it's almost like, wow, I wish we could. I kind of want to go try to rewrite some of it or something. Like we could try to figure out how to make this better. I feel like it could be better. I feel like it could have been something
salvage it.
It could be better, but it would just be Blade Runner
or a Futurama episode.
There's some cool ideas hidden in there here and there, but these are ideas that have been explored extremely well by other enterprises as well.
Agreed.
So final recommendations then. I can start with this one if you like. I don't recommend this in theaters. I don't recommend this at home. I don't recommend this in flight. I do not like them. Sam, I am.
I would recommend our cut of the movie, my cut of the movie, which would probably just be all the space scenes and probably last 5-10 minutes on a big screen. That's all you need to see.
I mean, it wasn't a well-spent $12, but you know what? I mean, I felt like I was in an observatory. Cool. I think. Maybe. I don't know. There were space monkeys.
That's face-eating space monkeys.
And moon bandits.
Completely seriously. And moon bandits.
Hey, they could do a spin-off of that.
And we could.
Whalers on the moon.
That's what I'm saying. It is literally that episode of Futurama. Or maybe Cowboy Bebop. Cowboy Bebop, like you were saying.
I've seen some Cowboy Bebop vibes for the designs.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
So, larger points. See at your own risk or time. I mean, hey, if you like space, go for it. But
If you like space, watch the other space movies that came out.
That's the real. That's all you need to know. Watch the other space movies. Thank you.
Boom. Thanks.
All right. This has been Brendan.
And it's been Nick.
And this is Tom. Thanks, everybody.
See you next movie.